He knew that if he could not slow the fish with a steady pressure, the fish could take out all the line and break it. He is a great fish and I must convince him, he thought. I must never let him learn his strength, nor what he could do if he made his run. I must never let him learn his strength, nor what he could do if he made his run. I must never let him learn his strength, nor what he could do if he made his run. I must never let him learn his strength, nor what he could do if he made his run. If I were him I would put in everything now, and go until something broke. But, thank God, they are not as intelligent as we who kill them, although they are more noble and more able. The old man had seen many great fish. He had seen many that weighed more than 1,000 pounds, and he had caught 2 of that size in his life, but never alone. Now alone, and out of sight of land, he was fast to the biggest fish that he had ever seen and bigger than he had ever heard of, and his left hand was still as tight as the gripped claws of an eagle. It will uncramp though, he thought. Surely it will uncramp to help my right hand. There are 3 things that are brothers: the fish and my 2 hands. It must uncramp. It is unworthy of it to be cramped. The fish had slowed again, and was going at his usual pace. I wonder why he jumped, the old man thought. He jumped almost as though to show me how big he was. I know now, anyway, he thought. I wish I could show him what sort of man I am. But then he would see the cramped hand. Let him think I am more man than I am, and I will be so. I wish I was the fish, he thought, with everything he has, against only my will and my intelligence. He settled comfortably against the wood, and took his suffering as it came, and the fish swam steadily, and the boat moved slowly through the dark water. There was a small sea rising with the wind coming up from the east, and at noon the old man's left hand was uncramped. Bad news for you, fish, he said, and shifted the line over the sacks that covered his shoulders. He was comfortable but suffering, although he did not admit the suffering at all. I am not religious, he said. But I will say 10 Our Fathers and 10 Hail Marys, that I should catch this fish, and I promise to make a pilgrimage to the Virgin of Kober, if I catch him. That is a promise. Life is pilgrimage. He commenced to say his prayers mechanically. Sometimes he would be so tired that he could not remember the prayer, and then he would say them fast, so that they would come automatically. Hail Marys are easier to say than Our Fathers, he thought. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Then he added, Blessed Virgin, pray for the death of this fish. Wonderful though he is. With his prayers said, and feeling much better, but suffering exactly as much, and perhaps a little more, he leaned against the wood of the bow, and began, mechanically, to work the fingers of his left hand. The sun was hot now, although the breeze was rising gently. I had better rebait that little line out over the stern, he said. If the fish decides to stay another night, I will need to eat again, and the water is low in the bottle. I don't think I can get anything but a dolphin here. But if I eat him fresh enough, he won't be bad. I wish a flying fish would come on board tonight. But I have no light to attract them. A flying fish is excellent to eat raw, and I would not have to cut him up. I must save all my strength now. Christ, I did not know he was so big. I'll kill him though, he said. In all his greatness and his glory. Although it is unjust, he thought. But I will show him what a man can do, and what a man endures. I told the boy I was a strange old man, he said. Now is when I must prove it. The 1,000 times that he had proved it, meant nothing. Now he was proving it again. Each time was a new time, and he never thought about the past when he was doing it. I wish he'd sleep, and I could sleep, and dream about the lions, he thought. Why are the lions the main thing that is left? Don't think, old man, he said to himself. Rest gently now against the wood, and think of nothing. He is working. Work as little as you can. It was getting into the afternoon, and the boat still moved slowly and steadily. But there was an added drag now from the easterly breeze, and the old man rowed gently with the small sea, and the hurt of the cord across his back came to him easily and smoothly. Once in the afternoon the line started to rise again. But the fish only continued to swim at a slightly higher level. The sun was on the old man's left arm and shoulder and on his back. So he knew the fish had turned east of north. Now that he had seen him once, he could picture the fish swimming in the water, with his purple pectoral fins set wide as wings, and the great erect tail slicing through the dark. I wonder how much he sees at that depth, the old man thought. His eye is huge, and a horse, with much less eye, can see in the dark. Once I could see quite well in the dark. Not in the absolute dark. But almost as a cat sees. The sun and his steady movement of his fingers had uncramped his left hand now completely, and he began to shift more of the strain to it, and he shrugged the muscles of his back to shift the hurt of the cord a little. If you're not tired, fish, he said aloud, you must be very strange. He felt very tired now, and he knew the night would come soon, and he tried to think of other things. He thought of the big leagues, to him they were the Grand Ligas, and he knew that the Yankees of New York were playing the Tigres of Detroit. This is the second day now, that I do not know the result of the Wagos, he thought. But I must have confidence, and I must be worthy of the great DiMaggio, who does all things perfectly even with the pain of the bone spur in his heel. What is a bone spur? He asked himself. What is a bone spur? he asked himself. What is a bone spur? He asked himself. Una espuela de hueso. We do not have them. Can it be as painful as the spur of a fighting cock in one's heel? Another step, and you would have fallen off the cliff. If you had taken another step, you would have fallen off the cliff. Another step, and you would have fallen off the cliff. If you had taken another step, you would have fallen off the cliff.
統計っていうのはね、なんか足のかかとのところにね、とんがったものがついてて、これをケズメっていうんだよね。ケルツメってついててね。まあ、鶏さんだけどね。こういうのがついてて、これで統計はね、戦うっていうんだよね。これが骨棘って言って、骨のトゲみたいなのね、骨がとんがってる部分の一種なんだけど、骨棘って言ってね。これで戦って、これでやられると痛いんだよね。それでこう言ってるでしょ。ね、そういう痛いのにね、この老人はね、耐えられるとは思えないと。I do not think I could endure that. ね。統計、けずめで蹴られることに耐えられるとは私は思えない。そして、or はね、つまりっていう意味なんだ。何々や何々の、何々か何々のかとかではないんだ。つまりって意味、つまり、すなわちって意味なんだ。つまり、the loss of the eye。これ、片目を潰されても、これ、安堵はね、ちょっと下にも書いたけど、家庭法だよ。家庭の意味があるんだよね。ね、of both eyes。両目を潰されても、それでもね、continue to fight。戦い続けられるとは思わない。I do not think I could が省略されてると思うんだよね。as the fighting cooks do。統計がね、しているようにっていうこと。こういう意味なんだね。これは結構難しい訳だったな。これはなんか英会話のなんじゃらトエックだの共通テストでも何でもいいけど、ああいうもんで聞き取りだとか言ってえいやと選択肢選んでるようではね、こういう正確な役はねこうできないんだよ。こういうものをねやっていかないと、ちゃんとしたそのえいやっていうね、まあ適当な英語は金にならないから、これお家でお手伝いするんならねこういう英語でいいんだけど、ちゃんと自分でね、こう金になる英語っていうか、ビジネスして金になる英語、相手を説得するような、そういうね、ちゃんとした英語を身につけないといけないと思う。それがこれなんだよね。みんなもね、こういう勉強もした方がいいと思うよ。まあ試験でね、そういうのやらなきゃなんないんだったらそういうのやんなきゃなんないけど、もちろんそれはそうでやってどんどんやっていけばいいと思うけど。ね、本当にこれ、今後ちょっとしたこういう金になる英語やりたいんだと。ね、世界を舞台にね、今共通語だから英語を武器にしてね、武器だよ。英語が通じたとかじゃなくて、英語を武器にしてやっていくためにはね、こういう老人とみたいな名文を読んでさ、きちんとこれを訳する練習っていうか、そういうのしていかなきゃならないと思うぞ。終わり。
I do not think I could endure that, or the loss of the eye and of both eyes, and continue to fight as the fighting cocks do. Man is not much beside the great birds and beasts. Still I would rather be that beast down there in the darkness of the sea. Unless sharks come, he said aloud. If sharks come, God pity him and me. Do you believe the great DiMaggio would stay with a fish, as long as I will stay with this one? He thought. I am sure he would, and more since he is young and strong. Also his father was a fisherman. But would the bone spur hurt him too much? I do not know, he said aloud. I never had a bone spur. As the sun set he remembered, to give himself more confidence, the time in the tavern at Casablanca, when he had played the hand game with the great Negro from Cienfuegos, who was the strongest man on the docks. They had gone one day and one night with their elbows on a chalk line on the table, and their forearms straight up, and their hands gripped tight. Each one was trying to force the other's hand down onto the table. There was much betting, and people went in and out of the room under the kerosene lights, and he had looked at the arm and hand of the Negro and at the Negro's face. They changed the referees every 4 hours after the first 8, so that the referees could sleep. Blood came out from under the fingernails of both his and the Negro's hands, and they looked each other in the eye and at their hands and forearms, and the bettors went in and out of the room, and sat on high chairs against the wall, and watched. The walls were painted bright blue and were of wood, and the lamps threw their shadows against them. The Negro's shadow was huge, and it moved on the wall as the breeze moved the lamps. The odds would change back and forth all night, and they fed the Negro rum and lighted cigarettes for him. Then the Negro, after the rum, would try for a tremendous effort, and once he had the old man, who was not an old man then but was Santiago el Campeón, nearly 3 inches off balance. But the old man had raised his hand up to dead even again. He was sure then that he had the Negro, who was a fine man and a great athlete, beaten. And at daylight when the bettors were asking that it be called a draw, and the referee was shaking his head, he had unleashed his effort, and forced the hand of the Negro down and down until it rested on the wood. The match had started on a Sunday morning, and ended on a Monday morning. Many of the bettors had asked for a draw, because they had to go to work on the docks loading sacks of sugar or at the Havana Coal Company. Otherwise everyone would have wanted it to go to a finish. But he had finished it anyway, and before anyone had to go to work. For a long time after that everyone had called him the champion, and there had been a return match in the spring. But not much money was bet, and he had won it quite easily, since he had broken the confidence of the Negro from Cienfuegos in the first match. After that he had a few matches and then no more. He decided that he could beat anyone if he wanted to badly enough, and he decided that it was bad for his right hand for fishing. He had tried a few practice matches with his left hand. But his left hand had always been a traitor, and would not do what he called on it to do, and he did not trust it. The sun will bake it out well now, he thought.